had a great new year so far, and I hope that all of you were safe during the new year. I know that the government is attempting to put fear into people with the new variant that's out there right now. I don't even remember what it's called, but I hope that all of you are remaining strong and remaining steadfast. So, today, I want to start out with a topic that I don't believe many people talk about, and that's on the word enabling. Now, when we think of the word enable, what do we think? Well, when I first think of the word enabling, I think of someone who pampers another one's behavior, who allows people to get away with things that they shouldn't get away from because they have a certain talent, they're a family member, they're a close colleague, close friend, whatever that may be. And I felt the need to bring up this topic because of one person, and that person is Antonio Brown. Now, for those who don't know who are unaware of the situation, and quite frankly, if you are unaware of the situation, unless you are not into sports, you've been living under a rock. Antonio Brown is a professional football player. Currently he's not playing in the National Football League. He recently got cut from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won the Super Bowl last season. And he got cut due to him essentially making a big fit, reportedly that he wasn't getting the ball enough against the New York Jets when the Buccaneers played the Jets. He took off his jersey, took out his gloves, he threw it in the stands, and he threw out the deuces while leaving the stadium. Now, I bring up Antonio Brown because him, along with many other celebrities and high-profile athletes, have been, and throughout time, been enabled because of their talent. And I believe that's an issue. It's an issue because you're allowing people to get away with things that they have no business getting away from. And you're not holding themselves, let alone you, to a standard that needs to be met. And I'm a firm believer that if someone doesn't hold themselves to a standard, you have no structure in your life. Now, let's look at Antonio Brown's resume, okay? He was expelled from Florida International University because he had an altercation with a security officer. He threw a fit when he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And there was one game where he threw the big Gatorade jug onto the field because he wasn't getting enough catches from Ben Roethlisberger. There was an issue reportedly that he threw a football at Ben Roethlisberger. But guess what Pittsburgh did? They offered him a contract. After all that nonsense, they offered him a contract. Enabling behavior. What? Because he could catch a football. And then, I believe it was the last game of the season, he didn't show up, or he refused to show up. And then at some point during that season as well, after the Steelers had won a game, he went on Facebook Live while Mike Tomlin, the head football coach, was talking. Straight up disrespectful. No respect whatsoever. But yet, Pittsburgh still was enabling him. But in the end, they eventually traded him to the Oakland Raiders, where they gave him a big deal where if he had behaved himself, he would have got $30 million guaranteed. But did Antonio Brown do that? No, he didn't do that. What he did in Oakland, and this is before the season even started in 2019. He made a fuss because he couldn't wear his helmet, because during that season the NFL changed the way helmets were made. Excuse me. He threw a fit about that. He had an issue with his feet. I believe he got frostbite. He did it to his own damn self. Did it purposefully, in my opinion. Had an issue with the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And then Oakland said, "No, I had enough. I'm done. I'm not dealing with it." And then what did Antonio Brown do? He released a video saying ignorantly, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. Like he was some slave or something. But you see what happens next? The New England Patriots, literally the same day he got cut from the Raiders, they signed him. Why? Because he could catch a football. No regard for how he acted, how he treated people at the last two teams he signed for. No regard for that. No, we'll take him. We'll take him. He plays one game. Oh, yeah, and by the way, he's having some issue with some lady. And I believe around this time, he threw furniture out the window and almost hit a person. But you almost hit a kid. But doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He plays one game for the Patriots against the Miami Dolphins. He played well. I think he caught a touchdown. Then he sent a text message to some woman or on Twitter. And then the Patriots said, "No, what? You're done. You're out of here." And then after he got cut, Antonio Brown made a comment towards Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. So you would think someone who has committed the amount of disrespectful acts would no longer play in the league anymore. Because make no mistake, if you are a professional ball player, whether it's in football, basketball, soccer, even if it's a semi-pro league, it is a privilege to play in those leagues. Because you're getting, at the end of the day, you're getting paid to play a sport. You're getting paid to shoot a basketball. You're not building a house. You're not constructing a vehicle. You're shooting a basketball. And you're getting paid thousands to millions of dollars to play a sport. To me, that's a privilege. But with Antonio Brown, okay. After he got cut from the Patriots, he's going through some legal matters, yada, yada, yada. Last season in the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers signed him. He had to go through an 8-game suspension, but signed him. Why? Because he can play football. He can catch a football very well. Now, look, Antonio Brown, talent-wise, great wide receiver. Ain't no doubt about it. I believe there's some stat that he has the most consecutive seasons in his first 6 seasons and receiving yards in NFL history. Obviously, the dude can play. But to go back, okay, he got signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 8-game suspension. It was on his best behavior. I mean, you didn't hear anything about him during that Super Bowl run the Buccaneers had. And then this season started. And now he's starting to act like a fool. Because one of the wide receivers got hurt for the Buccaneers. Forgive me, I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. And then Tom Brady essentially anoints him. Hey, look, you're the man. You're the lead wide receiver. We need you. And I believe it was a game against the Panthers where Antonio Brown had over 100 receiving yards. And then eventually, a game that I alluded to earlier against the Jets, he didn't get the ball as much as he wanted to. And there was an incentive in his contract where if he caught a certain number of passes, he would get extra money, a bonus. And then he threw a fit. And by the way, when Bruce Arians, the head coach of the Buccaneers, signed Antonio Brown, I mean, he essentially didn't have any influence on the signing because he didn't want Antonio Brown. If you all remember, he said that essentially that we're good, like our core is good. But Tom Brady said no, I want Antonio Brown. Bruce Arians said, one and done, meaning if you screw up once, you're done. And then what Antonio Brown does. And forgive me if I'm going all over the place. Antonio Brown has a fake vaccination card. Now, all of you already know my opinion on the vaccine, but that's besides the point. He has a fake vaccination card, which if you have a fake vaccination card, you're a coward. You're a coward. If you don't want to get the vaccine, have some guts and just say I don't have the vaccine. Don't be a coward and get a fake vaccine card. Just putting that out there. But anyway, he has a fake vaccine card, which is a felony, by the way, for all of you who don't know. And he didn't get fired. He didn't get cut. Bruce Arians, the same guy who said, one and done. You screw up once, you're finished. They didn't cut him. Which is very undermining for a head coach. But the man didn't get cut. Why? Because he can catch a football. Now, recently, he went on some podcast, some show, and he was dissing Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, when Antonio Brown came to the Buccaneers, Tom Brady offered him a home. He didn't have to do that, obviously, but he did it. And now Antonio Brown is dissing Tom Brady. So why did I say all that? Why did I give a timeline of the history of Antonio Brown? From his time as a Pittsburgh Steeler to his time as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Because he's a classic example of when you enable someone's bad behavior, it will always come back to bite you. If you lay in bed with nonsense, you're going to deal with nonsense. Case in point, another example. R. Kelly. Now, I like R. Kelly. I even consider myself an R. Kelly fan. Of his music, of course. But make no mistake about it. From what he has done, that man should have been in jail a long time ago. He's lucky in 2008 he got acquitted because the girl he pissed on, I make no joke about it, believe me, she didn't go to the trial. She didn't take the stand. So even though her friends, police officers, parents, well, actually not the parents, but family members said it was her in that video, because she didn't take that stand, R. Kelly got acquitted. He probably paid them off and whatnot, but he got acquitted. And for years upon years, the man got away with child abuse, pedophilia. Why? Because he's a great artist. Phenomenal artist. And as I mentioned earlier, that's a problem in society. Whether it's towards quote-unquote famous people or within our own community, our own people. We need to stop enabling people's behavior. Just because they are family, just because they are our homeboys, homegirls, just because they are our friends, just because they're colleagues, just because they are a benefit to you in some way, shape, or form, we need to hold these people accountable. Like, selfishly, I wish R. Kelly wasn't in jail right now, because I want new music from R. Kelly. But if we're gonna be respectful people of accountability, the man should be in jail. Rightfully so. From the amount of things that man has done, he should be in jail. No doubt about it. Now with Antonio Brown, he has no business being in the league. He after that incident in Oakland, he should have been done. He should have been done. And we see this all within sports. Another case in point, there was a guy named Greg Hardy beat up a woman, and the Cowboys picked him up. And NFL, full of child abusers, women abusers, drug users. Lawrence Taylor. He was a crackhead. For the old school cats. That man was a crackhead. But obviously, the Giants, they let it go. Now, granted, it was a different time, so they were more lenient. But still, he was a crackhead. Yeah, and there were stories where his teammates or the head coach had to get him out the crack house to play. And it wasn't until later in life that he got over the drugs, because throughout his career, that organization, the Giants organization, was enabling that behavior, because obviously Lawrence Taylor is one of the greatest football players of all time. And again, back to my point, we have to hold people accountable and not enable their behavior. In my family right now, a certain individual's behavior is being enabled because they're family. BS, bullcrap. Just because they're family, they don't have an excuse. That's not a legit reason to enable someone's behavior. I'm of the belief that you treat everyone the same. No matter if it's your mother, no matter if it's your colleague. You treat everyone the same. And that stems from being consistent and not being biased. And believe me, it's tough. It's a tough thing to do. Because sometimes you feel guilty for not, quote unquote, helping them. Sometimes you feel guilty because if they end up in a bad situation, you tend to feel that it was your fault. But make no mistake about it, it is not your fault. If that person does not want to help themselves, what do you think is going to happen when you actually help them? They're just going to lean on you for all the help that you're going to give them. And once you don't help them no more, then how do you expect them to stand on their feet? Sometimes, man, you just got to let people do their thing. If people don't want help, then let them go. Let them go. But don't be, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't feel that you are locked in to someone because of a certain title. Don't do that. Hold people accountable. Do not enable their behavior. Because you see Antonio Brown, look how many chances that dude has gotten, man. All those opportunities. And he's still acting up. Why? Because people have been enabling him throughout his entire career. Another person, Josh Gordon. Pothead. He's been given so many opportunities. Why? Because he could catch a football. And that's what's wrong with society. There's a lot wrong with society. But that's part of the reason what's wrong with society. Just because you got certain talent doesn't mean you should be getting away with certain things. It's ridiculous and it's a damn shame. So that's my lesson to all of you. Do not enable people. But I'm not saying don't help them. Just don't become a crutch for that individual. Hold that person accountable. And if they are not meeting the standards, or at least holding themselves to a standard, let them go. Let them go. As I said, it's going to be tough when you do it. But let them go. And if they go down, then they go down. When you're on your journey, not everyone's going to come with you. Some people you got to leave alone. Okay? Because at the end of the day, when we die, I know I'm getting deep. When we die as individuals. I'm going to say this for married people and couples too. At the end of the day, when you die, you're dying as individuals. When God judges you, God will judge you individually. So you got to look out for yourself. You got to work on your salvation. Period. End of story. Well, with that being said, that's all I got for today. I hope that all of you got something from today's episode. We're going to have a great year. I'm so happy that I'm on this journey with the podcast, with the show. I get to help all of you. I got some goals, and I want to make them publicly. My first goal is that 50 total episodes before the year ends. Another goal of mine, I want 1,000 followers for the podcast on all overall platforms. And just continued growth, viewership, and things of that nature. And as long as I got God by my side, I know that goal will be achieved. And I want to thank all of you who has been listening since I started the podcast in November. And we're going on a ride. We're going on a ride. And whether you want to go on a ride with me, it's entirely up to you. But I will say that if you do go on the ride, it will be something that you'll never regret. So, that being said, again, thank you for listening to today's show. I hope that all of you got something from it. You can follow me on social media, on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Salute to Rye. I'm on TikTok now, on the Tic-Tac. You can follow me there on Salute to Rye as well, or just look up my name, Ryan Allen. And you can follow the podcast as well, only on Instagram. The username is All In, All Out Podcast. Don't forget to please give a 5-star rating, drop a comment, sending a review. Any sort of review will be greatly appreciated. With that being said, be blessed until we get back.